Because I could be able to see them.
From there, you're not going to see
Right.
We know that people are thinking about this in the case of third-party contracts that don't have experience with funding. And if you know about this, that is government.
Jesse fields the majority of the calls at our office, so I usually in these presentations I let Jesse take the lead answering the questions from the audience, and I jump in when it's warranted.
One of the things I want to do is to just move the mic so that people can ask the questions where they are, and everyone will hear it. So I'll use that to do that, and then you
Okay,
can
that's what.
Welcome everyone. We're going to get started with our presentation, and glad to see you all came out in the rain and find out about this new program that we're starting here. I'm Vic DeLuca. I'm the mayor. I want to introduce my colleagues. We have Deputy Mayor Frank McGehee and Township Committeeman Dean Daffis. Seem to want to get up real quick. And Township Committeeman Greg Lembrick. And so we're very happy to be here. I just want to introduce a couple other people who are very instrumental in this. The chair of our green team, Tracy Woods, and the chair of our environmental advisory committee, Bob McCoy. And there's one other person who worked hard from the town on this. She's both our director of community development and our prosecutor. And tonight she's prosecuting people over at the court. And that's Annette De Palma. But Bob and Tracy and Annette and we worked with the consultants. We worked with other municipalities. You're going to hear about this community energy aggregation. This is the Sustainable Essex Alliance. It's an alliance of 5 municipalities across Essex County. I'll just steal a little bit of your thunder. It's Maplewood, South Orange, Glen Ridge, Montclair, and Verona. We represent over 100,000 residents. So if you were to put all those people into one town, it would be the 6th largest town in New Jersey. So it's a pretty big group of people. And of those 100,000, it's about 32,000 PSE&G customers. So that's a big, big pool of people. You'll hear why we're able to negotiate some better prices, because we put together this collective. So this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to introduce our consultants who were very instrumental in working with us and steering us through this process. They'll go through the presentation, which is about 15, 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions. I'll come around with the microphone for questions because we have this being televised. And also this way you'll all be able to hear the questions, and then they'll be using this mic over here to do the answers. So with that, we're going to get started. I want to introduce Bob Chilton. Bob is with a firm called Gable and Associates, and he will be the person that doing the presentation, and he and his colleague Jesse will be doing the answers to your questions a little later. We did receive some questions before tonight, so we'll be dealing with those. I've also put my email out there in case anyone is out there watching. It's v.deluca, D-E-L-U-C-A, at twp.maplewood.nj.us. I know it's long. It's v.deluca at twp, like in township, twp.maplewood.nj.us. If you email your question, I'll make sure that they get answered while we're here. If you have questions after, you can still send them in, and we'll try to get those answers for you and send them to you. Okay, Bob Chilton.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I'm glad the rain let up at least a few minutes before everyone hopefully arrived this evening. Nick, is the camera this way? I want to make sure I'm facing the right. Okay, very good. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Chilton. I'm with Gable Associates. My colleague, Jesse Castellanos, will help answer the questions afterwards. Jesse really is the guy on the front lines at our firm answering the telephone or email or internet questions that come in. So what I'm going to do this evening is run through this PowerPoint presentation. Should be about 20 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions. And hopefully I can, we've heard a lot of questions, and we've been running these types of programs for about 6 years now. So we've heard a lot of questions, so hopefully my presentation will answer many, I'm sure not all of your questions. So this program is done under a law called the Government Energy Aggregation Law. It was passed by the New Jersey legislature about 16 years ago. So it's been on the books for quite a long time. On top of the law, there are regulations that have been passed by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, which provide the overall framework for how these programs are to be run. The basic concept is to allow a municipality, or in this case, a group of municipalities, to pool their residents together to go out to market, creating purchasing power that folks would not have on their own, with the goal of obtaining power supply at a lower cost and with more favorable terms and conditions, including renewable energy content, than what folks could get out shopping on their own, or hopefully even from the utility. A quick background. I'm sure most of you probably by now are aware, but in case not, the overall electricity market was changed almost 20 years ago now, where way back in the day, PSE&G and the other utilities in New Jersey were responsible for all aspects of power production, transmission, delivery. They did everything. It was soup to nuts. And when the industry was changed about 20 years ago, the utilities really were consolidated into just the delivery part of the business, and the power supply part of the business was opened up to competition. Utilities basically divested of their generating assets. They don't produce their power themselves any longer. They go out in the marketplace and buy from the competitive marketplace, and then the utility is responsible for running the wires, and they are still regulated by the Board of Public Utilities. So with that new market, folks, residents, businesses have had for almost 20 years a choice. They can go out and you can go out and shop for another third-party supplier, or stay with PSE&G, whatever is your pleasure. Some of you may have ventured out into the third-party supply market at some point in the last 20 years. So this process starts with the municipality passing an ordinance. That's the first requirement of the law. Maplewood, in fact, passed an ordinance last March to form this program. Also, what was unique to this program in forming the Sustainable Essex Alliance, first, Maplewood passed a resolution forming the cooperative purchasing group, and then the other member towns that the mayor mentioned passed resolutions to join the cooperative. Maplewood is what we call the lead agency of the group. So Maplewood actually was responsible for running the bidding process. The final decision was made by the governing body of Maplewood with a consultation of all the other towns involved. So the next step of the process is the municipalities, when they go through this kind of program, have to go out through a public bidding process. So this is all done out in the wide open eyes of the public. There was a request for proposals that was advertised. There was a public process, a two-stage process where suppliers came in, gave their qualifications, and then the second stage was the acceptance of bids. And even the bidding process itself has to first be reviewed by the state. So the draft of the bid package was actually submitted to the Board of Public Utilities for their review to make sure that it's consistent with the state rules. So after that process, that was a long process of many months. After that process was completed, the bid was issued in March of this year, and then prices were accepted in early April. So the results of the bid, the proposal from Direct Energy Services for a 17-month contract beginning in July of 2019 with about a 41% renewable energy content was selected as providing the most overall value in terms of the price, the length of the price stability, and the renewable energy content. The 41% renewable energy content is 20% higher than the state mandated renewable energy content. And it is comprised of two components. First is about 5% New Jersey-based solar power, and then 36% regional renewable energy from what we call renewable energy certificates. And if anyone has a question about what those are, I can answer those questions. I'll get into that later. And there's also some information on the township's website about the renewable energy market and what renewable energy certificates represent. The contract price is about 11 cents per kilowatt hour. That is substantially more than 10% below the PSE&G price at the time that the bids came in and the contract was awarded. The PSE&G price at the time we did the bid was around 13 cents per kilowatt hour. This is 11 cents. We do anticipate that later this year, PSE&G's tariff prices will be dropping somewhat. But even with that drop and with the normal monthly fluctuations in the PSE&G tariff price for power supply, and even inclusive of that almost double renewable energy content, we do still anticipate that the typical resident will save about $150 over the 17-month as compared. Ma'am, if you could hold your questions to the end, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Again, what are the benefits of this kind of a program? Biggest one is the aggregate purchasing power formed by putting all of this large group of residents together to go out to the marketplace to get something that we believe folks individually could not get on their own. Again, the renewable energy content is about double what is currently in the PSE&G supply. Consumer protections, this is a big one. I mentioned earlier that folks for many years have had the option to go out on their own for third-party supply. If you have, some of you may have encountered experiences that were less than satisfactory. Some of the typical scenarios that have happened, I'm not saying with every supplier, but it's not that uncommon, where folks can enter into a contract and get a very favorable price initially, but then in the fine print, what it says is after an initial period of 3 months or 6 months or something like that, the price will go to quote unquote market. So a not atypical scenario is someone gets a price which they're happy with at first. Maybe they're not paying that close attention. After, say, 6 months, the price jumps up to what the supplier says is market, and market really can be anything that they want it to be. And so folks, and I'll be honest, it actually happened to me probably 10 years ago, busy with my life, didn't pay attention. And next thing you know, you look at your bill and your price went up by 50%. And then you call to get out of the contract. The second substantial and fairly common stumbling block is an early termination fee, where then you want to get out of the contract and you wind up having to pay a fee of 50 or 75 or 100 bucks if the contract is still in effect. So these are the kinds of things that you can experience on your own. This kind of a program is designed to take all that out of the equation. The individual residents do not sign any contract. There's a master contract that the municipality signed that has terms and conditions which protect against all of these pitfalls. The contract price is the contract price. The term of the contract, the length of the contract is fixed at 17 months. The supplier cannot automatically roll it over at a different price of their choosing. And there's never any early termination fees. You can get out of it anytime you want without any fees. So a price that's known, a length of the contract which is finite, and no termination fees ever. Jess, go ahead to the next slide. Oh, wait, well, you can keep it there, but so what I always describe this as a local purchasing effort. So as I mentioned earlier, PSE&G no longer owns their own power plants. They have spun those off into the unregulated marketplace. For those of you who don't have third-party supply that have PSE&G as your supplier, PSE&G simply goes out to the market like we did, basically. They go out once a year when the state tells them to go out for lengths of contracts that the state directs. They are 3-year contracts. And they go out the same time of year every year, and that's what they do. And that's the product that you get from PSE&G is basically product they're buying in the marketplace from a host of suppliers out in the marketplace, and they just pass it through to you under rules dictated by the state. This I always describe as more of a local purchasing effort where the town, which is closer to your interest and kind of knows you better than, say, the state, can go out for an alternative, and they can pick the length of the contract, the renewable energy content that you may want, or that collectively it's decided is beneficial to get something for you as an alternative to what the PSE&G is getting in the marketplace. So this is, as I said, the law has been on the books for about 16 years, but for the first 10 years or so, honestly, the market was such that suppliers just couldn't provide any benefit, so the market was sort of dormant. That changed in 2012, where the first New Jersey town successfully implemented a GEA program. That was a program that we helped implement. It was down in Plumstead Township, a very small town down in Ocean County. Since then, there have been well over 50 towns across the state that have implemented a program of this nature, saving many, many millions of dollars for residents. What is new with this type of program is the introduction of a renewable energy content, enhanced renewable energy content. This is one of the first programs. There's a wave just starting this year of programs starting to introduce renewable energy content to reflect the wishes of residents throughout, increasingly throughout the state. So this is one of the first programs with a renewable energy content, and certainly by far the largest program in the state with the renewable energy content. So who is Direct Energy Services? That's the supplier that was awarded the contract for this program. They've been around a long time, almost 20 years. They've been licensed in New Jersey for about 16 years. They serve over 4 million customers across North America, including over 1 million residential customers and many tens of thousands of customers in New Jersey. They also are experienced with this type of program. They have offered an energy aggregation program in a number of other states, Massachusetts, Illinois, Ohio. They have gotten into the New Jersey market this year, and quite successfully. In addition to the 5 towns in the Sustainable Essex group, they have recently been awarded a contract by 3 other New Jersey municipalities. As I said, they've been in the business a long time, and we vetted them. They had to submit their qualifications, their experience, to make sure that they're up to speed and they have the resources to support this kind of a program. They had, in the mailing package that you received, they had contact information. There's a toll-free number, an email address, and a web address where you can reach Direct Energy with questions or to opt out of the program if you so choose. The information's here, and also this PowerPoint presentation is also, if not already, it will be uploaded to the township's website, so don't feel the need to scribble down everything you see on the screen. It will be available on the township's website. Go ahead, Jess. So Gable Associates, that's us. We are an independent energy consulting firm. We are registered with the state of New Jersey. We are based in New Jersey. We've been in business about 25 years. We are not affiliated with retail suppliers. We are independent. We are hired by municipalities to help them go through the bidding process and to help go through the proposals that are submitted and help the municipality select the best offer, and then to support the program through answering residents' questions. We're basically on board for this for the whole length of the contract. That's our job. Again, we have contact information that was included in the mailing package. We have a toll-free number. We have an email help desk, and we also have a web address where you can opt out through us if you decide you don't want to be part of the program. So the overview of the program, May 1st is when the mailing went out. Direct Energy Services sent out the package. That package was first reviewed by ourselves as well as the municipality. for its content and compliance with state rules. Everyone in town, every electric account in town would have been mailed a package, except first, if you already have your own third-party supply contract, you would not have received a mailing. Under state rules, people with existing contracts are not initially included in the program, although you're welcome to join. Also, folks that have an existing solar panel system on their roof, they are also removed from the program. I'll get into the reasons why in a couple slides. And then if any residents in the early part of the process asked to be put on a do not disturb list, they were also pulled out. So with those three exceptions, which don't add up, it's a very small percentage of the total population, everyone else should have received a mailing from Direct Energy using a list we received from PSE&G. So the notification package included a short introductory letter, a program summary, which was a one-page matrix that's in a format that's dictated by the state, and also a one-page frequently asked questions that reflects quick questions and answers to questions we hear a lot. And there's a more expansive version of the frequently asked questions that has been prepared and is also up on the township's website, which gives a little more detail and expansive answers to some of these questions. And also, I think it addresses a few other additional questions. Go ahead, Jess. If you do decide to opt out, this program, everyone is initially included, subject to your open-ended ability to opt out of the program. So if you don't want to be in the program, you want to opt out, you can sign and return the opt-out card that was included in the package. You can just sign it, stick it in the postage paid envelope that was provided. You can call Direct Energy at their toll-free number. You can email Direct Energy at their email address. You can call Gable Associates at our toll-free number. You can email us, or you can go through our web portal to opt out that way. So we try to make it as easy as possible, as many different formats as possible to opt out. By state rule, the initial opt-out period lasts 30 days. So that opt-out period ends on May 30th. Residents that opt out by that date will not be enrolled in the program at all. After May 30th, Direct Energy will enroll the remaining customers with PSE&G. They will notify PSE&G, hey, starting with the July meter read, we are enrolling this account, so now we would be the third-party supplier as of the July meter read. And then if you're enrolled in a program, that will be reflected in your first bill after that, which would be your August bill. So what happens after the initial 30-day period? As I said, after the 30-day period on May 30th, if you don't opt out, your account will be enrolled. That will automatically generate a form letter from PSE&G that basically says, hey, Direct Energy just asked us to enroll you for their supply beginning in July through your municipality's energy aggregation program. If you don't want that, please call us and we will reverse the enrollment. We will undo the enrollment. So basically, PSE&G sends another letter, which you would get in mid-June-ish. Again, another fail-safe in the system. If you want to be in the program, you can just throw that letter in the garbage. This is really just another protection in case you might have changed your mind or weren't aware of the program. PSE&G gives you another heads up, basically. And again, once the program starts, if you don't opt out initially, you can opt out any time along the line without penalty. So you can decide a month in, 3 months in, 6 months, 12 months in, you don't want to be in, you can just opt out and you'll be out of the program at the next available meter read date. No fees, no penalties. So let me talk a little bit more about the initial group of customers that were removed. First is those with existing third-party supply contracts. Those folks, by rule, are not included. The reason being that A, you've already shopped, so you've already taken advantage of the market, and B, because you entered into a direct deal with a supplier, no one other than you and the supplier knows what the details of that deal are. So including whether you have any early termination fees, things of that nature. So what we really say to people with third-party supply contracts existing is do a little research on your own. Look at the price, compare it to what the price is here, look at the renewable energy content, compare it to what we have with this program, and very importantly, review what you have and make sure you would not incur any penalties if you did decide to leave that contract and come with the township's program. Once you do your due diligence and you find that it's in your to your benefit to join this program. You're certainly welcome to. You just have to opt in because you weren't in the initial group. You would opt in through the same way that people opt out. The toll-free number, the email address, the web address for either Direct Energy or Gable Associates, and that information is all online on the township's website. Second group of folks that were removed initially were folks with solar panels. What we have come to realize, and this was many years ago, was that folks with solar, the vast majority of people with solar, are better off not being on third-party supply, be it this program or any other third-party supply contract. The reason is that, unlike PSE&G, third-party suppliers are not able to provide you with banking and net metering like the utility does. So if you have a if you have a solar power system on your roof, the vast majority of those systems will produce more than you actually use in the summer months when it's light the longest and the sun is highest in the sky. PSE&G allows you to carry forward your excess production in those months, and they credit you at full retail value in future months. Third-party suppliers cannot do that. So we don't want you to lose any of the value of your solar. So everyone's removed because, in our experience, the vast majority of folks with solar are just better off not being on third-party supply. Again, if you do your own homework and come to the realization that you don't rely on this net metering and banking to any substantial degree, and you would benefit from the program, you're certainly welcome to opt in again through the same means. You'd go through either Direct Energy or Gable Associates to opt into the program. So the basic timeline, again, so the bid award was made in early April. Opt-out packages were mailed on May 1st. Tonight is the public information session. The opt-out period ends on May 30th. The enrollment notification letter from PSE&G will come in mid-June. And then if you don't opt out and you don't ask PSE&G to reverse that enrollment, the enrollment will go through and be successful. You'll be successfully enrolled. And service will begin with your July meter read date, which can vary anywhere from beginning of July to end of July, depending on what meter read cycle you're on. And then service, if you stay in the program for the entire length of the contract, the service would conclude in December of 2020 at the end of the 17 months. So quick recap. I think I've covered all this, so I'm going to go quickly through this. So again, it's about double the renewable energy content. Projected to be about $150 in savings over the 17 months for the typical customer. You can opt out anytime you want, either now during the month of May or later on if you decide later on after the program starts you don't want to be in it any longer. And the contract price will not be varying, will not change with market. It is locked in. Go ahead, Jess. The only exception would be if there's some kind of a change in law at the federal or state level, which changes the supplier's costs. But they would be able to pass that through subject to review by the town, but only if that change in law also affected the PSE&G price by the same amount. So if some law was changed and let's say the cost went up by 2%, if the PSE&G rate went up by 2% to pass through those costs, the supplier could also do a similar 2%. But that's the only condition under which the price could ever change, and it would not affect the savings because it would only be at the same amount as the utility price. This is important now. So again, this is particularly for folks who haven't done third-party supply before. When you switch to another supplier, there is absolutely no change in your relationship with PSE&G. PSE&G is still the regulated delivery company. So they're responsible for keeping the lights on. If power goes out, whatever the reason, a heat wave, a truck hits a pole, knocks a pole over, whatever it is, a tree falls on the service line coming from the pole to your house, whatever it is, you still call PSE&G to get the lights back on, their toll-free number. PSE&G still reads your meter. They still render the bill. So you get one bill from PSE&G, nothing changes at all, except one line item on the bill. So PSE&G is still sending either, the old-fashioned meter reader out or remotely reading your meter, and PSE&G is still giving you a bill every month. If you have a equal payment plan with PSE&G, if you're on budget billing plan, you will still get that. Direct Energy, one of the requirements in the contract that the township insisted upon was that anyone that currently has a budget plan with PSE&G will still get that. Now, the Direct Energy will calculate a monthly amount based upon their charge, and then PSE&G would still give you the monthly amount for delivery charges. Because the direct energy rate is lower, the total of the two should be lower than your current budget plan. If you receive financial assistance on your bill, like a low-income heating assistance program or a universal service fund, those are state or federally funded programs. They are siphoned through to the PSE&G bill. You're still getting a PSE&G bill, so you still receive that assistance. Nothing changes if you do get financial assistance on your bill. And finally, some of you may have a worry-free appliance repair contract. Again, your relationship with PSE&G does not change. That contract remains. You still have those charges on your bill, and you would still call PSE&G if your hot water heater flunks out or your furnace goes out, whatever it is. So your PSE&G bill, as I mentioned, you still get a PSE&G bill. They're basically, your PSE&G bill is broken up into two main components: delivery charges and supply charges. The delivery charges will still appear at the top of the bill. The supply charges, which usually in PSE&G bills they're somewhat complicated. Usually it's 4 different lines. If anybody's interested, I'll explain why there's 4 lines. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's get to it. Here we go. Jess, the next slide. Let's do it. So there you go. So the reason that there's a bunch of lines. So PSE&G does have a tariff price that's posted in the tariff, and it's posted on their website. And in the winter, so that would be defined as October through May, there's one price for all kilowatt hours. And then in the summer, there is a price for the first 600 kilowatt hours of usage, and then a higher price for anything over 600. That is intended to charge people more. Presumably people using more electricity in the summer are using a lot of air conditioning. Air conditioning use is usually what drives the summer peaks. So they have that higher price for excess usage in the summer to basically disincentivize you to use as much air conditioning or to reflect the cost of your contributing to those high peaks. So those tariff prices are set on a monthly calendar month basis. And then PSE&G has something called a reconciliation charge, where they have the tariff price, and then they have this thing they call a reconciliation charge, which basically trues up for prior months how much they collect versus how much they pay their suppliers. Sometimes those are negative, sometimes those are positive. Those are, again, on a calendar month basis. So for the vast majority of you, your meter read cycle does not coincide exactly with a calendar month. So the reason you see like 4 lines is that, and this is in the summer, you've got a price for the first 600 kilowatt hours, another price for the over 600. And if your meter read date is, let's say, on the 3rd of the month, and let's take a month of, what's this one example here? So this is February to March. So let's say that your meter read period between for this bill went from, say, February 3rd to March 3rd, for example. You had, so that would be 25 days in February at the February price, and then 3 days at the March price, because your meter read, almost everyone's meter read cycle spans 2 calendar months. So that's the reason you have 4 line items, because you're now reflecting 2 different months' prices, and you may have a price for the first 600 kilowatt hours and then over 600. Well, that's a whole, yeah, there are things in that bill that, you could teach a whole, you could have a 3-credit college class on. So the direct energy, one price. So it'll be one line item. It's one price, all your kilowatt hours. It doesn't change. So it's simpler. So I think that's it. If anyone has the need to contact us or Direct Energy about your account, in the world of supply, the number that's relevant is something called a POD ID number, a POD ID number, not your account number. Your account number is on the first page of the bill. Your POD ID number is a 20-character number beginning with the letters PE and then followed by 18 digits. That is the identifying number. That's in a box on the right-hand side of your bill next to the supply charges. That's the number that we would ask you for, Direct Energy would ask you for, to reference your account, not your account number. It's another complication in the process. There's an account number, which you use when you're contacting PSE&G. There's a POD ID number when you're talking to your supplier. That's just the way PSE&G has set it up to identify. And with that, I believe we're to the question stage of the presentation. my colleague Jesse Castellanos. He is a gentleman that if you call our office, you're most likely to talk to, and if you're emailing, you're most likely to be exchanging with him. So I'm going to ask Jesse to entertain and answer your questions, and I'll pipe in as necessary.
Go back here first because we said we would wait till the end, and we're at the end, so you can ask a question.
Good evening. I'm just wondering what happens at the end of the contract period. Does the town renegotiate this contract with many competitors or?
Sure. So what happens when the contract ends is one of a couple of things can happen. One, the township will decide that there is no good offer out on the market, and then residents will be automatically returned to PSE&G without any input from the residents. Or if there are favorable market conditions that are advantageous, what the township will do is they will go out onto the competitive marketplace, similar to what they did for this contract, and they will get a contract that will pick up from where the contract leaves off in December of 2020. But that doesn't necessarily preclude a situation from happening where the township decides that there's no contract that should pick up at the end of December 2020, and and residents get picked up a few months thereafter. So a number of things can happen, but the transition should be seamless in any case.
Anybody else? Yes, Kevin.
For the people that are already on third-party supplier contracts, they're going to stay on their contract because they're under contract as this goes into implementation. What happens when their contract with their person expires and they want to stay with that same third-party supplier rather than go to Direct Energy? Are they allowed to?
Oh, absolutely. The only way that if a resident is not enrolled in the initial enrollment, the only way that really a resident can be opted in is if there is a situation where the resident takes an affirmative step to opt in themselves. So if you decided to drop off your contract with the current third-party supplier, like that contract expires, you're not going to be automatically picked up by the township's program.
Okay. And the reverse is true too. Someone could go with Direct Energy and opt out during the 17 months and go with another third-party
And correct.
supplier.
And if residents happen to see a deal that is more advantageous than what is offered by the township's program, they can certainly go with that as they will. The only thing is we like to remind residents that because you're shopping on your own, it's really hard to find something with the same kinds of contract terms and consumer protections that the Sustainable Essex program would offer, but yes, you are certainly free.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you both. I have a series of questions to ask, most of which you have already answered, but because we're being televised, and as you can expect, public servants, we receive a lot of questions offline. This is a good opportunity to summarize some really important parts and highlight some concerns that people are having. A couple questions from our seniors. Will this company have the capacity to supply all the energy needed during peak summer months when our seniors rely heavily on air conditioning?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that third-party supply works in New Jersey, there's no effect on the reliability of the system of your energy supply versus someone who is not going to be on third-party supply. Reliability is still insured by PSE&G. PSE&G still manages the wires. They still manage the grid. They are getting their energy from the regional power grid. So which PSE&G as well as JCP&L and every other utility in the Mid-Atlantic sources from. So there's no change to reliability whatsoever. It's entirely PSE&G is neutral towards whomever you get your supply from.
Terrific. Will opting in mean that participants receive lower priority in the event of an equipment failure or power outage?
As I said, there's a PSE&G is obliged to be neutral towards customers wherever they receive their supply from, and as Bob may have alluded to earlier, PSE&G, they don't make any actual money on the supply portion of the energy bill, so they're just as incentivized to get your meter spinning as they are your neighbors who may not be a participant in the program.
Terrific. Will a consumer whose supply comes from direct energy services be able to compare the direct energy services supply price versus the PSE&G supply price on a monthly basis?
So on your PSE&G bill, typically printed on a month-to-month basis, is a PSE&G price to compare. In the supply portion of your bill on the bottom right, there's going to be a box that will list what you would have paid had you still been a customer with PSE&G. So there will be a point of direct comparison for residents on a month-to-month basis.
Wonderful. Again, you have already answered this, just to make sure everyone out there heard it before. Can a consumer who has opted out of the program after inception opt back in at a later date?
Residents can come and go as they please.
And reversely, can a consumer who opts out of the program initially opt back in at a later date?
Residents can come and go as they please.
There will not be, I think, Bob, you mentioned this earlier, there isn't a written agreement with the consumer directly. There's a written agreement with the township for consumer protection. Is that right?
That is correct.
Wonderful. And those are all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. And just before, I just want to introduce Township Committee Woman Nancy Adams, who joined us.
My question is, when the program was designed, why was it designed that we were automatically opted in instead of we would have to opt in on our own? Because this seems kind of reversal.
Sure. So basically, when the program was originally designed, actually, it was an opt-in program. However, that when it was originally implemented as part of the state deregulation laws in 1999, but that was seen to be it just never ended up taking off, and it was actually changed to an opt-out program in 2003. And the reason why it doesn't work in the marketplace is because suppliers really just have absolutely no idea what kind of load that they would be bidding on if it were an opt-in program. And conversely, if consumers don't know what kind of pricing that they would get were they obligated to be in this program, they wouldn't put their name on a piece of paper. So just from a market standpoint, the opt-out model was the only one that was seen to that had any promise.
So what you're saying is the reason why they did it is because if you go out to bid, you have to give them an estimate of the number of people who might be potential users.
That is correct. We have to be.
Next question is, will my budget plan, which was confirmed by PSE&G of March of 2019, be lowered to reflect the lower kilowatt per hour electric supply price? Now, we keep a record at home in Excel of how much we pay every month. So from March 20th of 2018 to March 20th of 2019, our average kilowatt per hour usage for electricity was 11.896116667 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, sorry, Excel carries out far. And you're saying you're going to charge 11.0005, which means we will save basically 0.89 of a cent per kilowatt hour.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, will the budget plan be lowered again?
So yeah, your budget plan is going to reflect the most recent annual usage that the supplier will pull times the current contract price, which is about 11 cents flat. Divide that by 12, and that's going to be applied over the course.
So then that means that the budget plan would be recalculated based on your start date of July?
Approximately, yes. The most recent month for which data is available, so probably early summer.
Okay, so they may need a month or two of experience, you're saying?
So there might be a slight lag in the data that Direct gets to calculate that monthly usage, but it's going to be based on a year's worth of annual data.
But according to what you're saying, the price of 11.005, that's fixed
Mhm.
for the 17 months, regardless of all this machinations we went through here of 600 kilowatt
And that's
hour.
correct. There's no tiered pricing.
Thank you.
Just on this opt-in versus opt-out, we have to recognize that the current system is an opt-out system. You have no choice. If you buy electricity, if I go out and create a new contract with PSE&G, I have no choice. I have to buy my energy from PSE&G unless I opt out. So that's the current system right now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Does the number of participants in this program affect our price after this has been initiated?
No, that is a risk that is built into the price by the supplier. There's no trigger number of participants.
Is there going to be any cost at any time say over the summer, if your electricity goes, is there going to be any cost to the people that opt out or even the ones
Never.
who have opted in to have anything fixed?
There's never any kind of supplementary administrative costs or any kind of opt-out cost whatsoever.
And the other question is, I've spoken to a lot of local people, and I'm surprised there aren't many more people here tonight that didn't say they didn't receive a letter, or the letter they did receive, they viewed as something like junk mail, and they've thrown it away, and they knew nothing about this. So the way this has been presented to residents, to me, and the fact that we only have until the end of May to opt out is not enough time because not enough people know about this.
So residents are free to call up Gable Associates or Direct Energy at any time. We're